Some massive changes are happening in the music industry right now, and in this video, I'm gonna show you exactly how to prepare yourself for future success.
We're going to every show selling CDs for $5 a pop. It's just enough to cover the gas.
Spotify is dying. It's hard to imagine a world where Spotify isn't dominating the music industry. It remains the primary way that people digest music, with over 80% of all music sales in 2022 being through streaming services. And while we may not see the end of Spotify this year, some changes in the world could affect it in the long run. With the rising cost of living and inflation at an all-time high, many people are struggling to pay their rent and keep food in their bellies. Unfortunately, during hard financial times, people's first cuts are creature comforts like media streaming services. Also, Spotify had one of its worst years in 2022. CEO Daniel Elk recently admitted that their operating costs were 2 times their revenue, and they had to cut nearly 500 jobs. They also saw their worst year for new subscribers to the service. Unfortunately, the reality is this is a trend that could continue. Music streaming has dominated the industry for over 10 years. Still, let's take a look at the history of music consumption. We can see that most forms of media, whether vinyl, cassette, or CD, only stay a powerhouse of music sales for 10 to 15 years. So while streaming could stay the dominant form for a while longer, we could see a whole new industry in the next 5 to 10 years. How can you prepare for this? For the time being, we should all continue to put our focus into Spotify because that's where the people are, but now is the time to diversify. Put your music on Bandcamp and YouTube and make small runs of physical media that you can sell on your website. And above all, make sure you take all the necessary steps to monetize your career through all available means, including royalties, merchandise, and licensing.
We're gonna go buy our record. You gotta do it, you gotta support yourself.
The album is dead. Pour some out for the homies because the funeral's come and gone and no one is mourning. As of a 2020 study by Rolling Stone, listeners only listen to 65% of an average album. That's 7 songs out of a 12-song album. The fact is, listeners don't want to listen to a bunch of filler songs to achieve the idea of an album that the music industry has relied on as a vehicle for sales since the 1950s. We live in a singles-dominated world. I've even heard of record labels offering song contracts to artists instead of a traditional record deal. How can you prepare? Please release an album if that's the vision for your art. However, stretch the album out over the course of a year instead of just releasing 2 singles and then dumping the whole album and hoping it will make your career. Music fans want an artist's best work, so make sure your songs are the best they can possibly be, release one every 6 to 8 weeks, and then put as much attention behind each piece as you possibly can. It's your job to make the audience believe in your songs as much as you do. This will keep you on top of people's minds, and then you can just package the entire thing as an album at the end of the year. You don't have to compromise your artistic vision, and it's like a choose-your-own-adventure book, but for music.
Look, it's rock and roll!
Rock isn't dead. Stop the presses and alert the media. Rock has climbed out of its grave and it's back with a vengeance. If we look at history, we can see that music, fashion, and art are all cyclical. It's been 30 years and we're about to see a return to the early 90s style of big guitars and simple production. Machine Gun Kelly's rock album Tickets to My Downfall was certified platinum in 2020, and prominent pop artists like Olivia Rodrigo and Demi Lovato have rock songs with over 1 billion streams. So there's no doubt that rock is alive and well. How can you prepare? If you make rock, metal, or punk music, stay the course. Guitar-driven music is still relevant, and we may see it return to the heights of popularity that it saw 30 years ago. And for anyone that's thought about picking up a guitar and adding it to their particular genre, stop thinking about it and do it. Experimentation and genre blending are the only way that a music genre can survive and thrive.